Donal Whelan from Hafod Mastering. I'm here today to talk about a new plugin called GULLFOSS from Sound Theory, which is available in India exclusively from sudeepaudio, your music technology partner in India. Now, GULLFOSS, the company Sound Theory, have done a number of years of research on how humans hear things and what is pleasing and what is displeasing to the human ear. And they've developed a model called the Human Auditory Perception Model. And they've built this plugin based on that model. And they call it an Intelligent Automatic EQ, which basically gives you a number of parameters to control and to change the EQ based on what the model judges is pleasing and not pleasing to the human ear. This plugin comes in 3 versions, and you can download and use all 3 versions on one license, which is quite enlightened for a plugin manufacturer. The 3 versions are the standard version, which you can use for mixing, a low latency optimized live version for use in live applications, and the version that we're going to look at today called Master, which is optimized with a low noise floor and the parameters optimized for mastering. They say the CPU usage is higher for the mastering version, so only use this version when you're actually mastering, and you can use just one instance of it. So first of all, in my experience, what this plugin isn't useful for is if you're mastering a mix that's already good. It's 95% there, everything's in its place, it just needs a bit of extra something to get it sounding just right. So don't use GULLFOSS for that, because it'll change the balance of the mix, and it'll change how everything sits next to each other. But what it is useful for, if you're working on a mix that's suboptimal, in this example it's a demo mix with the multi-track lost, or if you've got a mix that's out of character with its genre and needs to be kind of pulled into shape with a bit of magic added. So without any further ado, let's take a look at our example tracks and the plugin, and I'll talk you through it. So let's take a closer look at the plugin window. So the main portion of the display is taken up by this frequency display, which right now, even though the plugin is in, is not showing anything, because this display shows the changes that are happening dynamically. And around the frequency display you have the controls at the top, gain on the right, in and out meters on the bottom, and here at the bottom and on the left you've got some additional meters that show what's happening with these parameters. So let's dive straight in. So this track we're listening to is called Broken Jade by Zillow, and it's a demo mix that ended up being the only available mix when the band lost the session files. So it needs a bit of work to get it into shape. It's a bass-led ambient track, and as you can hear, there's a whole lot of hi-hat going on. So we're going to need to tame those and bring up the bass. So these 2 parameters, these are the main parameters of the plugin that are related to the Human Auditory Perception Model that GULLFOSS have developed. So like I mentioned in the intro, recover is the parameter that brings out the sounds that the algorithm judge as pleasing to the human ear. And tame, this allows us to tame the sounds that the algorithm judges are unpleasing to the human ear. So let's talk less and have a listen. Let me dial in some big parameters on here so we can hear what's going on, and then we can choose parameters that are suitable. Recover is in percent. It goes right up to 200%. It goes up to 11. So if we dial that in immediately, actually that sounds quite a lot nicer. It's softened the edge of the hi-hat. It's brought out some of the warmth in the mids, and the bass is holding its own nicely. So let's bring that down to 0, and let's take this up to 200. So this seems a little bit less instantly pleasing. It's brought up the mids. It's still softening the hi-hat. So just listening to those suggests that we will weigh our parameters more to the recover for this particular song. These parameters over here, I'm going to dial in 100 recover and 100 tame here. So these parameters, these change the way the main parameters work. So they're relative parameters. So bias goes from plus 100% to minus 100%. If we go positive percent, it gives more space to the recover parameter. So this is sounding a bit more like when we dialed recover right up. It's quite pleasing to the ear. If we go minus 100 here, gets all a bit bright and sharp and horrible. And then brighten is a bit more obvious and instinctive what's going on. If you go a positive percentage of brighten, it gives more weight to the high end, which is exactly the opposite direction of where we want to go with this song. And if you go negative percentage numbers, it does the opposite, it really kills the top end and gives the bottom end more space. So that's way too muffled for what we want. So back to 0. I'm going to take tame back down to 0 here because it's too much. So boost is the final parameter along the top here, and that's a low frequency boost basically, and this is, hang on a second, gone to the section with no low frequencies, so be it. This is the only parameter that's denominated in decibels, not in percentages. So if we dial in a silly amount of decibels here, we'll hear really clearly what's going on. Let's give this a really thick, heavy low end. It's pretty clear what's going on there. So let me go through quickly and dial in the parameters I ended up with on this track. 4.5 decibels on the bass. We went about minus 50 on Brighton. I left bias at 0. We had about 22% of tame, and we ended up with 52% of recover. Let's have a listen before and after of this via the bypass button. I think we can call this track successfully rescued from its demo state. I hope you found that demonstration useful. If you fancy trying GULLFOSS out for yourself, head over to the Sound Theory website and download yourself a demo copy. And after you've used it, I believe you're going to want it in your toolkit. So after that, head over to sudeepaudio.com, where you can get it in rupees for, I believe, better value than on any other website in the world. Thank you for watching.